Okay, we are up. Okay, just doing a quick test there. Hello, I'm John Yebrick with NASA's Office of Communications. This Sunday, SpaceX is scheduled to launch its Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station, marking the official start of commercial resupply missions to the station by American companies operating out of U.S. spaceports. Joining us here on the Hangout is NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk. We're going to have opening remarks from Charlie and Elon and then take questions. Charlie?
Hey, John, thanks very much, and thanks for everybody joining us this morning or afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. This is a really exciting time for all of us at NASA and across the nation. Tomorrow's launch is, or Sunday's launch, should be spectacular. It actually marks the beginning of true commercial spaceflight to take cargo to the International Space Station for us, and it actually kind of piggybacks with our recent selection of SpaceX along with Boeing and Sierra Nevada to contend to make the first vehicle that will be able to carry American astronauts and our partner astronauts to the International Space Station and low Earth orbit destinations from American soil. President Obama's got us engaged in a very, very, I think, ambitious program of exploration, but everything really hinges on the success of folk like Elon and his team at SpaceX, and I'm excited about being there with them on Sunday night.
Great. Elon?
Right. Well, I share the same sentiments. We're really excited about the launch on Sunday. Although I'm hopeful I'm hopeful it's nothing new and that it goes really smoothly. And I would like to remind people that this is only the second time we're going to try to go to the space station. So there's certainly a possibility that the mission could abort or something could go wrong. Although we've done everything we can to try to minimize that, it should still be viewed as an early mission, which is what it is. And but we hope to do many more of these and be sort of a good provider to NASA for servicing the space station, taking goods back and forth, and then in a few years transporting astronauts and transferring that responsibility from the Russian Soyuz to an American spacecraft.
Thanks. We'll now take questions from YouTube, Google+, and Twitter. We have about 30 minutes, so we'll try to get as many of your questions as possible. The first question is for both of you, and it's from @KMMCGEA on Twitter, who asks, isn't it an outdated at NASA goal to send astronauts to deadly Mars when robots like Curiosity carry less risk?
John, I think it's quite an appropriate goal. Robots are robots, and to date, every exploration discovery that's been made has been made by humans. Even today, the discoveries that are coming through Curiosity on the surface of Mars are actually being made by the people in the control center or across the world looking at the data that's coming through Curiosity. So it's the human species that does the exploring, not the robot.
Yeah, and Elon, you've addressed that as well. You've talked about potentially going to Mars in the future. You want to talk about that? What the goal is and why it's beneficial to go into Mars?
Sure. Well, I think what's really important is that ultimately humanity be on a path towards establishing a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. So, there's the question of exploring and learning things certainly, and robots can do some of that, but at a certain point you need to have people there and have a laboratory and have a station. And so just even in terms of learning things, I think you still want to send people there. But I do think there's a much greater goal, which is to make life multiplanetary. And the only way that's going to happen is if there are steady advancements in rocket technology that ultimately enable the transport of thousands and eventually perhaps millions of people to Mars and millions of tons of equipment. And my hope is that Mars will become the new world, just as the United States was the new world in the old days. They used to call the American colonies the new world, and Mars would be the real sort of new world. And I think that would be an incredibly exciting adventure. And of course, we'd learn a great deal, and we'd protect humanity against the potential for calamity on Earth.
Great. The next question is from Raminator, and this is for Elon. Are there any notable changes to this Dragon as a result of data collected from the first Dragon test mission?
Yeah, there are some changes, mostly on the software side. So we've improved the software of Dragon, trying to make it smarter, and of course to address the slight issue we saw on the last mission where we had to tweak the software in the LiDAR system. So obviously that's been adjusted, and we've also improved the software in the thermal imager, and we've worked with NASA on just a whole bunch of fronts to say, okay, how can we make this better? And it's been great working with NASA to refine the approach, and just we want to try to make it a little bit better each time.
The next question is from @Alex F. Goria. With the commercialization of space, is there potential to harness resources on planets like the Moon, Mars, and bring them back to Earth?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a huge proponent of getting resources from the Moon or Mars and bringing it back to Earth because the cost of transportation is so high. Even if it was massively improved, it would still be incredibly expensive to transport resources from other heavenly bodies to Earth. I think that would be very, very cost prohibitive. However, if there was, say, a base on Mars, that one could imagine circumstances where having a refueling station on the Moon or harvesting near-Earth asteroids would make sense.
John, I'll add one other thing. I don't think it's important, as important, to bring resources back here to Earth as it is to find the types of resources that we need to enhance the survival of humanity on Mars or the Moon or wherever we go. We currently spend a lot of time looking at what we hope will prove to be microbes on Mars from which we can produce materials like concrete, foods, and the like, so that we don't, have to pay the price of lifting tons of equipment and material from Earth to that destination, but that we do it there on the Martian surface. Fuels like methane and other things. So I think that's the hope in our case of since we're hopeful of long-term stays there, finding the resources you need there so that all you have to pay is the price of transporting the humans.
Okay. The next question is from, on Twitter, @CT_LA. What's the timeline for the first manned Dragon flight to the ISS? How are NASA and SpaceX collaborating in that area?
Sure. Sure. SpaceX and NASA collaborate really every day. There are NASA personnel at SpaceX and SpaceX personnel at NASA. It's really great working with NASA, and so from a timing standpoint, we're aiming to do probably initially an orbital flight that just goes to orbit and then returns to Earth with people on board, and we're hopeful that something like that could occur in about 3 years. Maybe add a year of margin on that, so maybe 3 to 4 years. But our goal is to do it in 3 years, and then to actually take astronauts all the way to the space station in about 4 years.
Okay, thank you. The next question's for Elon. It's from Twitter, TommyB123. Do you plan on using the Dragon vehicle for space tourism in the future? Because that would be awesome.
Well, yeah. Right now there are a lot of people that buy seats on the Russian Soyuz, and obviously that's in fact a lot of Americans have done that, and it would be great to have an American option where we could bring some of that revenue back to the U.S. and so yeah, we'd love to do space tourism flights that Birds is currently doing, and maybe if we can offer them at a lower cost, we could expand the market. And of course, I mean, anything that went to the space station would be, contingent on NASA approval. But then, there's possibility of a private space station with Bigelow, and that could be something that would help offset the operational cost of manned space flight. So it's hard to say where things will go in the future, but our focus right now is just on developing the technology and making that capability available, and then just with each year that goes by, try to figure out, well, how can we do good for the cause of space.
John, I think I would add to what Elon says. He mentioned one other company, Bigelow, for example, Bigelow Aerospace. NASA's role is not to develop the commerce, the space industry, but to facilitate the success of a viable commercial space industry. And from our point of view, while it's critical to have transportation systems, it's equally critical that the commercial sector develop destinations where those transportation systems can go. It's very encouraging for me to see Elon and others working with Bob Bigelow and Bigelow Industries, because they are creating alternative destinations. It would be very interesting to see the commercial sector expand the use of low Earth orbit for things like materials processing, pharmaceuticals research, and the like that are done places other than the International Space Station. And I'm encouraged when I look at Elon's manifest in that for the cargo side anyway, the vast majority of the items on his manifest are non-NASA. And that's what we're trying to do, is facilitate the true development of a real commercial industry where the government is an anchor tenant but not the primary source of income.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from the YouTube stream, and it's from Land of Dreams. The question's for Charlie Bolden and Elon. What are your thoughts on making the transition from chemical systems to new propulsion methods such as solar?
I think it's absolutely essential if we really want to develop the capability of routine interplanetary travel for humans. We've got to revolutionize the speed with which we make that travel, and that can't be done on today's chemical-based engines. So whether it's solar electric or nuclear or other plasma fusion, we've got to make some progress there.
Right. I think there's chemical propulsion is good for getting out of Earth's gravity well. And there are a lot of improvements that can be made in chemical propulsion. I think that one can take rocket technology quite a bit further than has been taken thus far. But for interplanetary travel, that's where electric propulsion, or really sort of ion drives of one kind or another, can be quite helpful. You can't use them to get off the planet because you can't generate enough thrust. But once you're in orbit, they can be pretty helpful for shortening the journey between here and Mars and other destinations in the solar system.
Okay, the next question is from Heath Rezabek on Google+, who asks, have NASA and SpaceX ever discussed furthering their collaborations into the realm of future speculative efforts? Example, the potential EML-2 lunar farside station concept, others.
I will say from our standpoint, there is, as Elon said much earlier in the conversation, there is daily conversation among our people. We live and work together now. We've got a NASA team that's out here in Hawthorne, and folk visit McGregor periodically. And I think anytime you have people of like minds, explorers getting together, then things come up that you're not working on immediately, but that you're looking to the future to do. So we do talk about collaboration between companies like SpaceX and NASA in going beyond low Earth orbit. Right now, the thing that I think Elon and I are both focused on is getting us successfully to low Earth orbit repeatedly, because the more we demonstrate the capability to do that, then the more confident we become, and we can then turn our vision to flight beyond low Earth orbit.
Yeah, I completely agree with Charlie. It's it's really we're going to make sure that we're able to do routine flight to low Earth orbit, and do so, really efficiently, and just make sure that basically we've got a good foundation before going too far beyond that foundation. So we're going to make sure that things are really good, and then go beyond. But there are conversations that are occurring about potentially leveraging say, the Dragon spacecraft as a science instrument delivery platform to other parts of the solar system. It seems like NASA essentially has made an investment in Dragon, and maybe there are ways to leverage that investment in other directions. And so I suspect that there probably will be things that come out in the future, but right now we're very focused on just getting to the space station on a routine basis.
Okay, thank you. Another one from YouTube. Elon, when are you going into space?
Some people think I'm already there.
I think what would be great would be for Elon and me to take a trip, maybe just to check out the operations on station.
That would be awesome. I would love to go to the space station with Charlie. That would be really cool. So I'd definitely like to go up. It's I got to resist the temptation to be the CEO and the test pilot, which would probably be not the wisest decision. But I really want to go. So yeah.
Okay. Another one from the stream is from Alan Lowe. Is there anything fun or special aboard Dragon?
Well, there's certainly things that are special, but I don't know, and probably fun, but there's no big wheel of cheese, if that's what you're wondering.
I will say what's special aboard Dragon this time. At least I understand. Elon will have to help me on the count, but I think we've got 23 student experiments. That's special. Some of them are making repeat flights, and it's SpaceX meeting an obligation to students where we didn't get around to doing all of them the first time. And so, Elon and the folk at SpaceX have agreed to put them back on there. But 23 student experiments going to space is really, really, really special in my estimation.
Yeah.
Thanks. I apologize if I misspelled this name, but Laura Gusell from Google Plus asks, how long did it take to assemble the Falcon 9?
Well, it's from start to finish, assuming the raw material is there, right now it takes about a year, maybe a little longer than that. So 12 to 18 months right now, but we are trying to accelerate that timing, particularly given the upcoming launch manifest. Because if you look at our launch rate, this year we'll do 2 launches. Next year we're aiming to do probably 4 to 6 launches, and then double it again the year thereafter, which I think is very important to keep increasing the tempo of space flight. Because I think that the ultimate thing is to try to get space flight as routine as air flight. I mean, I don't think it can quite get there, but it can get a lot closer than it's been in the past, and that's I think that's really important for the advancement of space.
Okay, another one. This is from @Jeremy M. Barr. Is the weather looking favorable for Sunday's SpaceX launch?
The latest update I got was that it's about 60% likely. So, which means obviously 40% potentially, 40% chance of potentially having to scrub due to weather. So hopefully those odds improve in the next day or so. But there is certainly a chance that we could have to scrub for weather.
Okay. This is from Chris James on Google+. He asks, how long will the docking procedure take?
Well, it's basically depends on when one counts the time. Once we're quite close to the space station, it's several hours. But then it takes us about a day to get close to the space station. And then over time, we're going to be working with NASA to try to tighten that time frame up, because I think we could get it to a lot faster. But in the beginning, we're taking things very, very slowly and deliberately.
And John, I'll add, you know, trying to help Elon out. I want to say the last Progress mission that we flew with the Russians, we executed a one-day or same-day rendezvous and docking, and that's ideally what, you know, where we would like to get for our commercial flights, because much of the cargo that we hope to carry, that Elon hopes to carry in the future, are biological samples or other kinds of things, and the quicker we can get them to station, the better. So I would say our target is coincident with Elon's, and that's to try to get there on the same day.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we have time for a few more questions. At DMG003 on Twitter asks, for Mr. Bolden, what are some of the things that SpaceX brought to the table that surprised NASA?
You know, to be quite honest, I don't think anything surprised us, because we expected that almost everything we would see from SpaceX would be revolutionary and different, game-changing. So the rapidity of the process that they do, the way that they've managed to streamline their process, cost is something that is critical. And as Elon has implied before, for all of us, the secret is big numbers. So the more rapidly we can get to the point where he and others are able to reliably launch to space and get big numbers in a year, means more profit and also less cost.
Okay, this is from Twitter at Alan Curlin. Dragon and Orion are small. How could 3 people live in it for months to Mars and back? Add-on living capsules? Question mark. 2 launches? Question mark.
Well, I mean, I really would not advocate that somebody travel to Mars in Dragon, because that would be very uncomfortable. Yeah. It'd be like taking. I mean, it would be ridiculous, actually, I think. So to eliminate any doubt, I don't think somebody should travel to Mars in Dragon. That would be, because you know, it's 6 months there, and then you may have to stay as long as 18 months to the surface and 6 months back. So it'd be like living in a minivan for 2.5 years. So
okay.
Much bigger spacecraft are needed.
Okay. And the next one is from on Twitter at 1TSWill1. How cheap can space travel become? Will it ever be as affordable and ubiquitous as air travel?
I sure hope so. I mean, it's fundamentally more expensive to go to space. I mean, the energy requirements are much greater and everything. So there's certainly a difference. But I mean, today's difference is, well, I mean, it's like 1,000 times more expensive, if not more, to go to space than to take an air trip. And 1,000 is a huge difference. I mean, perhaps it can be brought down to being only 10 times more expensive. I think that should be achievable, but that, of course, would require a 2 order of magnitude improvement in space transport. But that's what I think that needs to happen, and I think it can happen if we can make rapidly and fully reusable spacecraft and rockets.
Okay. This is for both of you. What's the most interesting new technologies you see in the near future in the space industry?
You want to take the first shot, Elon?
Sure. Well, you know, the big thing that I'm always hopping on is the thing I just mentioned, which is we have to have rapid and complete reusability for rocketry. That's really the pivotal breakthrough that's needed. And in order to do that, you have to make rockets very light, much lighter than they've ever been before. And rockets are pretty light to begin with. And then you have to have really efficient engines. I mean, now this is an extremely hard problem, for sure, but it's the one that really needs to be solved. We're hoping to make some progress in that direction. You know, maybe in the next few years. But whether it's SpaceX or someone else, that's really the crux. That's the thing that's most important to solve. And then there are other things like in-space propulsion and whatnot. But I think without fully and completely reusable rocketry, space will always be very constrained in its possibilities.
I think the only few things I would add, John, would be game-changing communications technology, optical communications, L-band communications, things like that. But sort of supporting what Elon said about the weight of the vehicle, becoming more reliant on composites and other non-traditional materials for spaceships. Also improving the process for determining the criteria for strength of a vehicle. We did something called the shell buckling experiments up at Marshall Space Flight Center over the past couple of years that demonstrated that the margin that we were using for our spacecraft was much in excess of what we really needed. That's a huge difference in weight, and if we can get that information to industry and have them build much lighter but equally strong vehicles, then I think that's a big technological leap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll see if you guys have any closing remarks. It's from HeatherKnott88 on Twitter. She's asking Elon, how do you balance maintaining all of your businesses while still having a quote-unquote normal life?
Well, I don't think I have a normal life. Quite abnormal. Well, I don't know. I split my time really between SpaceX and Tesla, and then depending upon the situation, that weighting may change slightly. But obviously, with the launch coming up, we're focused on SpaceX activity, and then but I don't really have. Although I have it's sort of, I'm chairman of Solar City, for example. That's maybe half a day a month. That's a relatively low part of my time. So my business time is really SpaceX and Tesla, and then spending time with my kids and sleeping. Those are my activities.
Great. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Just wanted to see if there's any additional closing remarks either you have about Sunday's Dragon flight to the National Space Station. Why don't we start with Charlie?
I would just say, I wish Elon and the team, the entire team, that includes the NASA part of it, the best of luck on Sunday night. We're looking forward to a successful launch, and I would encourage any and everyone who can get to a television or online or anything to help experience this. It's absolutely incredible to see something leave the planet, no matter what it is, and hopefully everybody will take advantage of the opportunity to do that.
Thanks. Elon, you have anything you want to add?
No, I think just that, yeah, it's going to be a very exciting night on Sunday, and we're going to be, I always get kind of nervous before these flights, thinking like, what have we missed, because I think we're working with NASA. We've done the best we can, so it's possible that something goes wrong on Sunday. That's always a possibility, but I feel like we've done everything we can to make the mission as successful as possible, and I hope people enjoy watching it.
Great. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Elon, for joining us. This Hangout officially concludes, and thanks, everyone online, for all your great questions today. Have a good day.
Thank you, John. Take care. See you, Elon.
Bye.
Bye.